Hey guys.
Hey everyone.
How's it going? We're excited to give you guys another insight or kind of introduction to another couple from Advance who lead a church in North Carolina who are great. I mean, we're just getting to know them ourselves, but Donnie Griggs and his wife Jill, we got to interview them today and ask them a few questions, but we're just excited to introduce more people to you guys.
Yeah, it just feels extra important, especially right now, just to help keep everyone connected. And I feel like sometimes we lose sight of that bigger picture of we're a part of something greater.
Yeah.
And so hopefully these conversations with, people that are doing the same thing we're doing in their own towns and, living life and loving Jesus and loving people, it's just encouraging to hear what's going on in their area and get to know them a bit. So we hope you guys are encouraged by this too.
Yeah. So it's not too long. Hopefully it's enjoyable. And we'll have some more coming to you guys soon. But lots of love and look forward to seeing you guys soon.
So why don't you guys just introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your family, what you're up to.
Sure. So we've been married 14 years almost, and we moved to start One Harbor Church in my hometown, which is like a little town in North Carolina, like on the coast 12 years ago. It was 12 years ago in January. And so, we started in a living room and then have just kind of slowly, God's grown that. And over time, it's become a church with 4 locations kind of across our little region. And so that's been good. It's made everything really complicated and all the rest, but it's just kind of been more of the same, just more and more chances to hold out Jesus and love people. We have 2 awesome boys, Jed, who's 9, and Wyatt, who is 6. And they are all boy, wide open all the time. Multiple cage fights break out in our house every day.
Yes.
They like to hunt and fish and, all those things. And we have a dog named Trigger, who's very much part of our family. He's a big old Chesapeake Bay Retriever.
Nice.
But anything else, babe?
No, we're just excited to be with y'all today, and wish it was in person, but
technology.
COVID.
Yeah.
What do you guys do for fun in the beautiful place you live? It's like our favorite place in the whole world.
It is our favorite place.
Yeah, it's not bad. So pretty much where we live revolves around saltwater. We do have good woods, and we've got like some kind of decent hunting, but nothing like what you guys would have access to up there. For us, it's really just little islands. There's lots of little islands where we live that are uninhabited. And so those are like kind of little refuges for all of us local people to go to. In the summer, the beaches get slammed with tourists. And so we get on boats and go find little islands where nobody's at and hang out.
That's so cool.
It's a really cool spot. It's like, it's, I mean, I'm from here. There's a book about our town, and my mom, as a little girl, my granddad are on the cover. So it's like my town, and that's got its ups and downs, for sure. But I think having grown up here, like I've got like such an appreciation for it, and it's fun watching our boys get that, like watching them fish and surf and start spearfishing and all that stuff. It's like it's neat,
Yeah. You cook. You cook a lot too, right, Donnie? You like to cook?
I'm a little obsessed.
Yeah, from my own heart. Yeah.
Yeah, me and one of our other pastors, Ryan Marshall, are like, we're starting a little business on the side, I think. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, doing like kind of once a quarter, booking like we'll do like a 4-course muse bouge, intermezzo, blah blah blah, pair everything up.
Cool.
Like a private dinner.
Super fancy.
Nice.
Fun.
10 people or less kind of thing. So we did one. Around Christmas time, and it went really good.
Sweet.
And that led to like other people wanting to book it. So it's a fun outlet.
Cool.
We need to cook together, bro.
Yeah, dude, I'm all in.
Yeah.
So you're a good cook, Donnie. So then we have a question for you, Jill. What is the best meal that Donnie's ever cooked you? One of our kids is in
Sorry,
here.
1 sec.
Oh, come on in. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, just keep going.
Okay. So it's honestly a really hard question because
Sorry. Yeah.
he's an amazing chef and I love everything he cooks. So, but probably my all-time favorite is like he makes amazing steaks, and so I think steaks with like Brussels sprouts. One of his newest thing has been this like parsnip puree that is insane. So so good.
It's really good.
So yeah.
Is it fair to say Brussels sprouts are highly underrated, undervalued?
Gosh.
Oh,
They're so good.
they're cooked right.
Yeah.
They're right to be cooked right. Yeah.
Girl last night who's booked us for one of these things, and she was like, I really like Brussels, but not boiled. I was like, man, who does that? Like,
Yeah.
everyone's mom
Back in the day.
Yes.
everyone's mom destroyed Brussels sprouts.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I blame the moms. Yeah.
Yeah.
80s and 90s moms ruined them.
It was
for
just
us.
the style of food in the 80s. and
They
90s.
boiled everything. They boiled chicken. They boiled everything.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, man.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So she said steak with parsnip
Oh.
puree and
Oh, yeah.
Brussels sprouts.
Okay.
Good roasted Brussels sprouts. Put some bacon in there.
Pancetta.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Ooh.
yes, please.
Yeah.
Come on over for dinner, guys.
Yes,
Yes,
please.
we're on our way to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Donnie, what's the best meal that Jill has ever cooked for you?
So Jill's like her strong suit in the kitchen is baking for sure. It works out because I'm terrible at it. So basically anything she bakes is amazing. But she used to make these, we called them I love you cookies, homemade cookie dough with like white chocolate and Heath bar and caramel.
Ooh.
Oh, it was all right.
Oh.
So that really like sticks out as like, but I mean really, anything she bakes is. So we do these little fancy meals. Jill's the like clutch. Any dessert we throw at her, she can whip it up.
Oh, dude.
So yeah, it's fun to do that together. You know, it's fun.
Yeah,
to
totally.
That's great.
It makes it sound like I don't make the I love you cookies anymore. Not because I don't
No, I
love
think
you,
the loving me is not making them anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
yeah, I was gonna say
it's
you don't normally have sugar anymore.
that's a way to love
so-
me, is to not make them.
Okay, fair enough.
It
Yeah.
definitely sounded like a past tense
Yeah.
thing because
She used to love me and make these cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things have changed though.
Oh,
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's cool. Yeah.
It's a good team.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so you had mentioned your church and how it started in your living room, and then now it's 4 locations. Do you just want to give us sort of a brief overview of where you're at and
Yeah.
that sort of stuff?
Yeah. So so I oversee, or as the lead pastor, I'm kind of over all 4 of those. The one I'm primarily at preaching, and leading is in Morehead City, and then there's another location in Beaufort, which is like, it's only about 10-minute drive, but it's 2 bridges, and it's a really different geographical place. And each of these sites, they kind of they represent like a bridge into like a broader community, and so that one is reaching like the hope is for that one to reach really east into these little tiny islands, little like remote islands. Like there's one called Davis, and I mean everybody I know from Davis, their last name is Davis.
Right.
Like these are like 10th generation, 8th generation. There's a guy in our church named Davis from Davis.
Real creative.
Wow,
Yes.
Yeah, he's a legend. So Beaufort is that kind of 10 minutes to the east of us. And then we've got another site called in a town called Swansboro, which is about 35 minutes to the kind of southwest. And that one is doing phenomenal as well. And it's really reaching all the way out to like this military base in Jacksonville called Camp Lejeune. And then there's another location, Havelock, and that one is straight west of us. And it's reaching this little town, but it's another really military town. And so, kind of a small town that's really just been dominated by a military base. It's called Havelock, but the local people call it Have Not, which I think just kind of gets like the angst, and the just like kind of sadness in the town. And so that site there is really doing a good job reaching local people and reaching the base. That multi-site kind of thing can be different, for, every church can do it really differently, but, God's helped us to really find our way, where the team feels so strong and so cohesive, like all of us together, we're really leaning on each other and, by God's grace, I think bringing out the best in each other. And so, yeah, kind of every year, I do this little thing with the site leaders where I say, hey, do you guys still want to do this? Or do you want to work towards autonomy? And, just the way it's worked out every year. We've all felt together, like, no, we're better together. And so, just a sweet thing, the end stuff. Yeah, but we're highly involved in lots of stuff in the community, human trafficking, getting girls out of that, helping people with drug and alcohol addiction is a huge ministry for us. Responding to like major crises like hurricanes, and we get a lot of those. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
That's one thing I think we've always really, in kind of getting to know you guys over the last few years, have admired, like your ability to kind of find and meet needs in the community, like in a tangible, practical way. Not like, hey, come to us and we'll talk at you, or it's like you're meeting needs practically. And I love you guys' tagline. It's like, help me out, but it's like making disciples, pushing back darkness. That pushing back darkness thing is so cool. And some of us would have heard you talk about the Small Town Jesus book and some of those ideas, but I just wondered, is there any like anything you guys have learned, any wisdom, any tips in how to meaningfully engage our community, like where it needs to be engaged? Yeah.
Man, thanks for that. Every church has got evidences of grace on it. And we certainly have a lot of areas to grow in. But that has been just in the kindness of God, a grace on our church. So I would say like what sticks out to me, like there's so much, but like probably the most dominant thought is that kind of idea of being present. Wherever you look at Jesus, he was present.
Yeah.
One of our elders, he's always saying that like Jesus walked at like 3 miles an hour, he wasn't hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
So that just the idea of like wherever you're at, being all there, like that's an Eliot kind of missionary quote. The Bible verse that really sticks out to me is, in Romans 12, it says that we're to weep with those who weep and rejoice with those who rejoice. You usually can't even get people to do that in the church together, let alone in the community. But I think that's the ideal, is that when your town is weeping, you're there. You're present. With the compassion of Jesus, with the empathy of Jesus, and then, like when it's rejoicing, you're there, so we've always tried to like be around when the town was celebrating, be part of that, feel like we're part of this community. But then like whenever there's been like lament, sadness, be it like a natural disaster or, a young person who takes their life, or we had a fire chief die in a tragic skiing accident a couple years ago. Just whenever there's these moments where everyone's just like grieving and lamenting, we just run into that. We run into sadness and hard things, and we're there to be a present. We're not there to throw a Bible verse at everyone. We're there to love and to weep and to grieve and to come alongside people. And so addiction, that was kind of how that we got into that, was just there was so much sadness, so many just hard, sad, stories. And so we just, started, something somebody told me one time, they said they came to One Harbor because we kept showing up. And I was like, what do you mean? And they said, well, like, we had this friend whose kid died in an overdose, and you did the funeral, like you were there, you showed up. And then like 6 months later, a hurricane tore our house down, and like you guys showed up in our house and said, hey, we'll rebuild your house for you. And, whatever, there's like another story. They said like, every time something bad happened, y'all showed up. And that was like, they weren't even Christians. It's what led them to like, and they're Christians now, but that was like that story. So I think however that looks for your community, I think it's different for all of us, but
I love that.
Go up, weep and be present,
That's huge.
Yeah. And I think it's like, this is not like our church in like someone else's community, like this is our community. And so I think as a church, just really owning, like we want to be here. And just that verse, like seeking the welfare of the city where God's placed us, is, I think, just been such a heart cry for us. And I think just being present and being like local, we tend to just like on a practical note, like just go to the same like places, like go to the same restaurant even, and just like develop like relationships. Because sometimes going different places you don't get to meet, so sometimes it's just going to the same place over and over and over again, and just building those relationships and trusting God to like bring opportunities to share how good he is with other people.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's great.
That's awesome. That's so hopeful. I think being present. It's interesting. Our town is like a sleeper town, so it's like kind of the whole ethos here is like you're not. No one's really present. It's like they're kind of in and out. So even that could be a really helpful kind of framework for us moving forward. Like, what does it look like to be present in the midst of that or whatever? It's so helpful, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah. This year's been interesting, obviously for everyone, but we've been trying to think through ourselves, like what's God been teaching us, and would love to hear like if you guys have anything that you've learned about God or yourselves or both, and that has been helpful in your discipleship to Jesus. And
I mean, it sounds maybe cliche, but I think just the faithfulness of God. Right? And I think specifically, we were all leading in a scenario that was much easier to lead in. We were all took for granted, the kinds of ways we do community, the kinds of ways we do church, the kinds of ways we do mission, the kinds of ways we do anything. Like we had no reason to not take it all for granted. It'd been the same for so long. And so this year has thrown so many curveballs, so many challenges. There's just probably, a lot of us, whether just part of a church or leading in a church or whatever, you feel like just like a deep sense of like decision fatigue. Like, there's so much analyzing everything, and no one's ever happy with any of the decisions you make. And it's just so brutal. And yet you look over your shoulder and you think, but God has been the same. Like he has been unchanging. He has been so faithful. And like I was really just reminded the other night, I was just thinking, man, like all those things that Jesus was doing before, he's still doing. It's like we threw everything we could at the machine to stop it, and it just keeps going, and so I think in my head, like I would have said Jesus is faithful. I've now walked a road that like gives me more like evidence, and like in Hebrews where it says, that Sarah herself was given strength to conceive Isaac, because she judged him faithful who'd made the promise. That idea of like her being able to look over her shoulder, and go, man, he has been faithful. And I think that's a gift for all of us, like as much as all this has been hard and sad, there's a gift in whatever we face next. There'll just be other challenges. We've got now I think we've got a truckload more evidence that God is faithful. That will help, I would not have seen how we could all make it through this, and God has he's carried us, So.
That's very encouraging.
I think I've been just so reminded, it's almost been like a year that's like, man, like this just seems like impossible, like how like difficult things have been. I mean, just obviously with COVID, and then I think even thinking of even situations and people and things people are going through, it just seems like, man, like so much to be disheartened about. But at the end, I've just been reminded like that we have a God who is like the God of the impossible. And so even in those situations where it seems hopeless and we are disheartened, that we actually have a God who, just as Donnie said, has been faithful and continues to come through. And even for the situations that we haven't seen the end, maybe answers that we want yet, that like God's still there, and we're continuing to like pray and trust him, because he's the one that can like change dead hearts just like he has for us,
Totally. Absolutely.
That's good. Oh, you guys are so encouraging. I love hearing all of this. It's been so good. So just one last question then, I guess. Do you feel like God's been speaking anything to you about our community or, the churches or the church?
Yeah. Gosh, I wish I could say I had this like dream last night about your church.
No pressure.
But I do. I have had this like recent like just kind of stirring, and I think it's for us, our church. I think it might serve to encourage you guys. I think it's probably relevant for a lot of us. I'll make it quick, but like in Luke 18, verse 1, you get like this kind of new series of parables, and Jesus introduces that first one, and he sets the tone for those next parables. In verse 1, he told them a parable to the effect that they ought always to pray and not lose heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get these series of like parables where Jesus is preparing them for him leaving, knowing that like in his absence, they're going to be likely to lose heart, likely to check out, likely to just give into discouragement. And so these parables sort of like fall in line with that. And one of them we see in Luke 19, this is the one that like has been really challenging me and speaking to me. It's the parable of the 10 minas, and one gets, they all get entrusted, and one kind of goes from 10 to 10, and one goes from 5 to 5, and then one just kind of hides his in a handkerchief. You know the story, but just the way it starts off there, just those first few verses, I'd never seen this, but says Jesus proceeded to tell them a parable because he was near to Jerusalem. So like the time's coming, like he's headed to the cross. So there's that reason, because his time's running short. And it says, because they supposed the kingdom of God was to appear immediately. Mm-hmm. So he said, look, I'm going to the cross, and these guys think this is going to happen easy. Mm-hmm. They think it's going to be like this. And so he tells them a parable effectively to like help them when they realize this is not easy. Mm-hmm. This is not like, something that just happens without any effort. And so the parable, he says, there's a nobleman who went into a far country to receive for himself a kingdom and then return. I love that. And he says, calling 10 of his servants, he gave them 10 minas and said to them, this is the line, engage in business until I come. Mm-hmm. And that line just kind of left out at me like, man, he tells us these series of parables so that we would always pray and not lose heart. And then like, there's this line here, like we're to engage in business until he comes. Mm-hmm. Like we are not to lose heart. We're not to check out. We're not to put our heads in the sand. We're not to just, stick it in our pocket. Like, this guy, we're to like leverage. And that's what these guys did who were found faithful. They leveraged what they were given. Like they put it to work. Mm-hmm. They engaged in business until he comes back. And I think we can all be so tired and exhausted from all the mess and just, man, whenever they say COVID, restrictions are up, then I'll re-engage. And whenever this happens, then it's like we start to do this where like, until he returns, we're to engage in business. Mm-hmm. That has not changed. We don't get like a COVID-19 pass on it or whatever, in season and out of season, we're to leverage every single opportunity we get to make much of him. And so I think I've just felt this fresh reminder to like not lose heart, not give up, don't grow weary in doing good, to keep going forward, and keep making much of him, keep engaging in this business until he returns. I mean, one day he'll say, enter into your rest, but it's not yet, and so I think just a reminder for all of us, like in the season where it would be so easy to check out, so tempting to check out, and so understandable even to go, I think it's coming back to these things and going, man, he doesn't want us to lose heart. He wants us to engage in business until he comes back, and I don't want to look back on the season with regrets, and go, man, geez, I kind of like punted down the field on that one. And like, actually I missed moments right now where, I could have been holding Jesus out, and so anyway.
No, that's great, man.
Yeah, really.
So encouraging, so timely. It's right in, I think, with where we're at. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We love you guys.
Yeah, you too, man. Thank you guys so much. It was great.
Yeah.
We're excited when we can have you up here for real in person. And
yeah, and we love your church, and we love getting to hear updates about you guys. And anytime you need anything from us, just holler. Pray for this or anything. We'll get to see each other again.
That's right, man. Yeah. Until then, keep on doing business. Keep it going.
Right, buddy.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
All right. Love y'all.
You.
Bye.